2.0 water filtration system or call 1-888-253-3139.
In the near future.
When you realize how fake it all is, the football, the basketball.
Alert. Security alert. This is Homeland Security. Analysis. InfoWars building independent media
We
operations.
let the worst people get control and tell us that we are the ones responsible.
Prime directive. Discredit Alex Jones.
Jones is the wildly popular conspiracy theorist.
A popular conspiracy theory talk show called InfoWars.
Alex Jones is now in an Austin jail.
These people are assaulting us.
Targeting of patriots engaged.
They are never going to stop. They're never going to deviate from their program until we stop them.
Block free iPhone app at Infowars.com. Block free podcast and video feed. Imperative. Destroy Prison Planet TV.
You gotta set your eye on the enemy, not worry about what propaganda they put out. Intellectually, it's begun. You can feel it.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. Most people know that iodine deficiency has been a crisis around the world. Iodine is key to so many of the body's functions, especially the thyroid. I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group. You now know it as Survival Shield True Nascent Iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating, and the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLife.com.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin. You're listening to the Alex Jones Broadcasting Network.
From the front lines of the information war,
It's Alex Jones.
We're here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, live. Back Sundays, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. You're listening to us. Thanks for tuning in on your holiday weekend. Paul Watson joins us from London, England. I come to you from deep in the heart of Texas, Austin. A beautiful, wonderful city that my ancestors have been in for a long time. Now overrun by socialists from California who are trying to ban guns and stuff. Not against Californians. You've already collapsed much of your beautiful state. Now you're here. It doesn't matter. It's what you do. Side issue. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's my opinion, which you're not allowed to have. They call that a theory. You're not allowed to have your own opinion. That's what all this conspiracy theory labeling is about. And that's linked in Paul's article and my article. In the second article, dealing with the fact that the CIA said, call anyone questioning corruption a conspiracy theorist just to shut down debate. Basically like calling you a heretic. Now, let me give you some real conspiracy theories that are total baloney. In fact, we should come out with an article next week, Paul, on 10 government conspiracy theories that were total bull. And, of course, that would be Al Gore inventing the Internet. When the Internet was invented by DARPA back in the 60s inside the CIA and government facilities and universities. That's on record, too. 2 + 2 = 5 in Common Core. That is a total delusional conspiracy theory. They teach kids that under Common Core to literally screw up their minds. If you're a corrupt government that tells you that you didn't build your business and that raising the debt ceiling doesn't raise the debt, as Obama famously said, well, you know, then you've got to teach people that 2 + 2 = 5. So there's some conspiracy theories that are total baloney. Carbon dioxide causes global warming. All the major studies show that carbon dioxide goes up after warming because there's more life on the planet, more plant life. But that doesn't matter. I mean, ignore that. Just call us the climate deniers. Paul Watson, let's get into some of the other conspiracy theories that turned out to be true in the 2 articles that are on Infowars.com.
Yeah, well, obviously, the major one used as a casus belli for war was the Gulf of Tonkin. Of course, we were told that the USS Maddox was attacked by the North Vietnamese. Never happened. The attack never took place. It was used to start the Vietnam War and that whole disaster. And then again in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, we had Operation Gladio, which was where NATO stay-behind teams carried out terrorist attacks to demonize leftist political groups in Europe as terrorists. So the main example would be the Bologna train station bombing in 1980, which killed 85 people. Blamed on the Red Brigades, eventually turned out that the Italian Secret Service was responsible for the attack. And of course, again, that was a conspiracy theory that Gladio was about a NATO false flag terror operation for decades, until it came out in parliamentary investigations from eyewitnesses, from whistleblowers, that that was precisely what was taking place. It was a state carrying out terrorist attacks to demonize political groups which were seen at the time as a threat to the power system. The Gleiwitz incident, which we saw almost a replay of last week, where Russia accused Ukraine of staging the incident where Russia made the incursion with the so-called military convoy onto Ukrainian territory. Ukraine claimed they destroyed the convoy. Russia came out immediately after and said that they could have even killed their own people just to stage this incident, or it never happened at all. And that's similar to the Gleiwitz incident in 1939, where 9 days before the incident, Hitler said, quote, "I will provide a propagandistic casus belli. Its credibility doesn't matter. The victor will not be asked whether he told the truth." And that was 9 days before German operatives dressed in Polish military uniforms seized this radio station near the Polish border in Germany, beforehand broadcasting a propaganda message in Polish to make it look as if the Poles had carried out the attack. The very next day, Germany invaded Poland, with Hitler citing that very incident as one of its pretexts. So again, many of these conspiracy theories that turned out to be true are major incidents that lead to wars, lead to invasions of foreign countries.
And, of course, Gleiwitz was part of the overall Operation Himmler, is declassified, is public, and early on in World War II, the Nazis denied it and said that it was made up and a hoax, that they had staged those events. They even dressed up prisoners in Polish uniforms and shot them to have dead bodies on the newsreels, that people would go see movies and watch news before the age of television. So this just goes on and on and on. Let's cover some more of the admitted conspiracy theories that turn out to be true, like people claiming there was organized crime with the Italians. And imagine the FBI saying it didn't exist until the mid-50s. I mean, that's like saying, again, the Atlantic Ocean doesn't exist. We now know there's organized crime in every ethnic group. Imagine how naive the public was to believe the FBI that it didn't exist.
Precisely, and then there are a couple of more involved in the FBI. You mentioned at the top of the show, the FBI poisoned alcohol during Prohibition because, of course, it was virtually impossible to enforce these ridiculous laws. So they attempted to do it in a way which basically killed people. I mean, there are all kinds of conspiracy theories, so-called by the media, which are proven about the government meddling with food and water supply, the environment. Back in the 1920s, during Prohibition, the FBI enforced the law by deliberately poisoning alcohol with things like methane, formaldehyde, ammonia, arsenic, and kerosene. They even added rubbing alcohol, which is made of water and propene, basically destroys your internal organs. They also added paint thinner. So an example of how the government deliberately poisoned people in order to enforce the law. Of course, another one is the FBI crime lab cover-up. This emerged back in the early 90s from Dr. Frederick Whitehurst, one of the FBI's top scientists, and a whistleblower on how the FBI would deliberately manipulate crime lab data in order to sway trials and frame innocent people. So there are hundreds or even thousands of people innocent but sent to jail as a result of this crime lab data being manipulated. And then it only came out in 2012 that the Justice Department had been, quote, withholding information for years about these cases. So again, it was denied for almost 2 decades.
Just like they denied giving people syphilis in Tuskegee, that's in there. What about the Clintons and the vast right-wing conspiracy? They've now released a few months ago, as you have in the article, from the Clinton Library, that indeed they were working with the mainstream media to demonize anyone questioning corruption. And they said in there, because we don't want a new independent press to rise, we have to discredit the idea of a citizen press.
Precisely. It was part of the war on new media, which at the time, of course, was mainly centered around Matt Drudge and to a lesser extent WorldNet Daily. But they had this deliberate policy. Hillary invented the pejorative term vast right-wing conspiracy to demonize the new media as not being credible, being kooky. And they had a deliberate policy to stop these stories that were coming out from the likes of Drudge from being picked up by the, quote, mainstream media. So exactly, it was a deliberate attempt to control the media via their operatives in the media, just like Operation Mockingbird.
And by the way, if folks simply go to Infowars.com right now, you can read these articles, follow the links to the Clinton Library documents. We're not just saying this here like mainstream media does, where they just make claims and don't show proof. We're showing you the proof. What about geoengineering? That's one we should end on, Paul.
Yeah, that's the final one in the second article. Of course, for years throughout the 90s, people were pointing to evidence of these geoengineering projects taking place, of course, linked to the phenomena of chemtrails and atmospheric manipulation. But we only actually really got the hardcore documents in the latter years of the previous decade, around 2008, 2009, where the government is indeed conducting these large-scale indirect, semi-direct aerosol campaign spraying programs where they're basically spraying artificial chemicals in the air for tests on weather manipulation and so forth. And they admit it in their own documents, which are now public and on the internet. Before that, it was a conspiracy theory that the government was manipulating the weather. Of course, now we know that that's way, way in advance of anything we ever knew about. It's way in advance of cloud seeding, weather weapons, which Ben Livingston was talking about in the 60s. That's all
exactly. And in closing, we're going to come back with 5 more minutes with you, Paul, but the big problem is then they have total kooks out there that claim that every contrail is a weather manipulation. That then discredits all the real research, and then folks don't look into what's admitted, because it's not called chemtrails in the government documents. It's called geoengineering, basically terraforming, and Bill Gates and others are involved. Follow the links to government documents and admissions at Infowars.com. 10 conspiracy theories that came true when questioning the official narrative proves crucial. And part 2, 10 more conspiracy theories that came true. From a fascist coup d'etat to the FBI poisoning alcohol. It's all documented at PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. Second hour with Larry Klayman, Paul Joseph Watson, and Dr. Michael Kaufman coming up. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. Most people know that iodine deficiency has been a crisis around the world. Iodine is key to so many of the body's functions, especially the thyroid. I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group. You now know it as Survival Shield, true nascent iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating, and the best part is it helps fund Infowars.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox Special at InfoWarsLife.com.
Open your eyes. It's time to give your eyes a powerful nutritional boost. Sight is the primary input to the brain, arguably making eyesight the most important sense we have. And just like the other important organs in our bodies, our eyes function at peak levels when they are fed the proper amounts of essential nutrition. Open your eyes. Combining key ingredients like vitamin A, zinc, lutein, proprietary saffron bulb extracts, and more, OcuPower by Infowars Life is a new formulation specifically designed to nutritionally assist the natural function of healthy eyes. Optimize the natural power of your eyes with the latest addition to the super high-quality InfoWars Life formulations, OcuPower. Go to InfoWarsLife.com or InfoWarsStore.com to order OcuPower or call 1-888-253-3139. OcuPower. Open your eyes.
Coast to coast, direct from Austin.